This marathon story is brought to you in part by a grant from the City of Naperville.
The first annual Edward Hospital Naperville Marathon and Half Marathon in 2013 was a success for those who spent months planning it. But even success can lead to improvements. From the 2014 race, that means there are some differences compared to last year.
The reality is there's a lot of changes. Different course, 9 miles on the road last year, 27 miles on the road this year, 3 times as many road miles. There's good upsides and downsides to that. A new race village at Knock Park, this sort of thing. There's quite a few changes that don't allow us to sit back and say, well, it worked last year, so it'll work this year.
It takes an army of people to help put this on, and we've got great people, but year one, we don't know where everyone's a good fit. And we got a lot of experience last year of working with people and saying, you were great here, but you've obviously got so much more capability. Can we put you in this role this year? And that lets us expand what the race can offer.
With the right people in place to make sure the race goes off smoothly, attention has turned to the course. How can event organizers make it the best experience possible for the runners?
Craig Bixler, one of my fellow race directors here, is the genius on this. I can't take credit for any of the changes. We all did sit down. It took us about 3 days, I believe, in a room with the city, and we just rolled up our sleeves and figured out what appeared to be the right course to satisfy all those needs that we thought we wanted to satisfy of growth, but minimizing public inconvenience, making sure that the public was protected, the runners were safe.
It was challenging. It was a very challenging course last year, particularly the second half of the marathon. Green Valley's got some hills and the paths that all added up to a challenge, and then right at the finish line there was a couple of hills there at the finish. The big thing, I think, to keep it on the streets, the two big things. Number one is capacity. We were on the paths last year, and those were narrow, and it held our capacity down. We wanted to keep capacity to a point where those paths would handle it, and it would be a good experience for the runner. The second piece of that is safety. Our response time to a runner who needs help on the paths is much longer than it would be on the streets. So we wanted to, as quickly as possible, get everyone onto the streets, and the city was good enough to work with us to make that happen this year.
With this year's course being street-oriented, the race village has to move location as well.
North Central was a phenomenal host institution for us the first year, but it was very clear that the number of runners, which is always greatest at the start of a marathon, any endurance event, you're never going to be more crowded than you are at the start. It was clear that we had maxed out that location. And this is measured by sponsors wanting to get more involved, charities wanting to get more involved, and this sort of thing. Amenities that we'd like to provide the runners with, there was no space for that. So this location here is time-tested for Naperville. This is the Turkey Trot, this is Knock Park, Ribfest, so it's clearly the place we started when we went looking for a new home.
The new course not only benefits the runners, but their families too. Spectators will also notice the improvements.
And the piece that we didn't really expect, but as we worked into this, we found out spectators are going to be able to see their runner at the 12-mile mark there, right at the start, and then if they want, they can stay there at the start-finish village, see them at the 12-mile mark, or come downtown, spend a little bit of time downtown, get a breakfast, get a coffee, whatever. They'll see their runners at 12. They'll be back here again at 17. And then as they head east, it's walking distance. They can see them at mile 22 over at North Central College. And then back at the finish again.
The course changes also lead to an unintended effect. Spectators can now lend even more encouragement to the runners.
It's amazing how much support means to you out there as a runner, and looking forward to seeing friends or family. I only have 3 miles to go, and then they'll all be there. So that part worked out great, and it was not necessarily intended as we designed the course. We were looking more at the footprint and impact on the city, but as it turns out, it's going to be great for spectators as well.
Now that improvements have been made to this year's marathon, all that's left to do is run. Reporting from Knock Park, I'm Zach Groth.